Raw review for the October 14th episode of Raw. I'm Will. That's Brandon. We are the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling Podcast. As always, let's cheers. Let's talk about some wrestling.
October 14th Raw from St. Louis, just like last week was from St. Louis because this one was pre-recorded. But like we said, we decided to stay away from spoilers and watch it with you guys right when we should.
Yeah, and it was really easy to stay away from spoilers. And we kind of found out why. Nothing.
I didn't want to say that.
Nothing to really spoil here tonight. Doesn't mean it was bad. Just we'll get right into it.
Sure. Yeah.
So here we go. We got Rhea Ripley starting Raw as advertised. She's all mad. She's coming off of SmackDown in story-wise, where she just, she ran in on SmackDown, ran in on Nia and Liv and everybody. So she comes out, she says, Liv, I am not done with you and Raquel. I'm not done till I get my championship. If you're done hiding, get out here so I can whoop that ass. Mm-hmm. She puts it pretty blankly like that.
Yeah.
And it was not Liv Morgan who graced us. It was Miss Tiffy.
Yes.
It was Tiffy time on SmackDown.
And I knew it was pre-recorded. And I knew that, the stars from both shows were kind of there somewhat. And then I heard Tiffany's music and I said, oh, yeah. I had totally forgot this was pre-recorded until right then. And I said, oh, makes sense.
Well, she came out and she said, what? Not who you're expecting? I have a message from Nia. She said, stay out of her business or there will be a problem. This is obviously because Nia is facing Liv at Crown Jewel. Rhea says, this is not Tiffy time. I have no time for this or that. All I have time for is Liv and Raquel, and I don't care if they don't come out. Somebody's getting it, and that may be you. And they start shoving each other. Tiffany's not backing down from Rhea. No reason for it. She's Miss Money in the Bank. Mm-hmm. She's Tiffy.
Yeah.
Standing up for herself. When they start to kind of push and shove a little bit, Liv and Raquel, they attack from behind. They attack both of them. Raquel immediately picks up Tiffany, power bombs her. Liv and Rhea are they're doing their little thing that they normally do, back and forth. No one really getting the best over each other over there until Raquel walks over and gives a good old high boot to Rhea. Mm-hmm. And then Liv starts beating Rhea with the briefcase. Bop, bop, bop. And then she throws it at Tiff. Mm-hmm. And they stand tall. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay. Right after that, Rhea would go backstage to Adam Pearce and demand a match. I think she was demanding a handicap match.
Yeah.
And Adam,
she said she wanted both of them.
Yeah, she wants both of them. And Adam Pearce is like, well, you can't have both of them. Or if you do want both of them, get yourself a tag team partner. And Rhea's like, I don't even need a partner unless Damian can be in this, which I don't think he can. And right when she said that, Tiff walks up and Tiff is pissed and is like, you know what? On a respectable show, Nick Aldis would never let this happen. And Adam Pearce looks at her like, well, how about this one? And Rhea's like, fine. So we set up a match of Rhea and Tiff versus Liv and Raquel later in the night. Mm-hmm. We'll get into it. I am going to give this one a pop.
The first segment here?
Yeah, first segment.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a pop as well. I like when they do things like this where they have, like the chat, Rhea was the challenger, but you have the Liv Raquel stuff happening and then you have just like a random tag match kind of.
Yeah.
I like when they do things like this. I like when even when champions and challengers are on the same team tag matches, stuff like that. So it was something different. You don't get the straight one-on-ones here, and I like that.
Yeah, this felt old school.
Mm-hmm.
It felt old school in terms of exactly what you just said, of like the champ coming out here and they're in a rivalry, and then like this random extra that might be a part of a bigger storyline somewhere else who isn't a part of that storyline for tonight gets involved. And now boom, 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 we're on a wrestling show. We're going to have a wrestling match. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, this is fresh. I like this. Yeah. So no complaints there. We then would snowball this right into a championship match where the women were taking over. So the women just owned Raw for basically most of this episode.
Yeah.
It was Damage Control taking on Jade and Bianca for the women's title. When they were walking out, Meta Girls are there. Mm-hmm. Meta Girls are front row in the crowd. They obviously fought on SmackDown last week. Quick match. They did well, though, and it looks like we're continuing this storyline in one way or another. Mm-hmm. And this match was good per usual, or as you would expect with these four women.
Yeah.
They're all awesome. Jade and Io Sky would start, and Jade would look really strong here until she would quickly tag in Bianca, and then Bianca and Jade would basically take turns destroying Io Sky. The match would eventually spill out of the ring, though, and Jade would super kick Io, but Kairi Sane would do a good old suicide dive crossbody off the top turnbuckle per usual. They love to fly. Yeah. That's what they do. Mm-hmm. Is she the Empress of the Sky or is that Io? One of them is the Empress of the Sky.
Io's. That's tough. Io's the genius of the sky, right?
Yeah, one of them's the Empress, one of them's the genius.
God, Io.
We'd obviously go to commercial break because that's what we do after suicide dives in wrestling, by the way. Yeah. And when we came back, it was Bianca Belair and Miss Io Sky.
I'm going to nail this. Genius of the Sky is Io, Empress of Tomorrow.
Asuka. So I was mixing them up. I was
Asuka, who's not even on TV.
Yeah, that's me. Boom. That's me. Anyway, we get Bianca Belair and Io Sky. They're working each other in after the break, and Bianca Belair would do a spear. Yeah. Flat out off the turnbuckle, like Jey Uso spear. Yeah. Or anybody's spear, like a big old spear. Yeah. Io. And I'm like,
out of nowhere.
Does she have this in her bag? Yeah. You can tell, like, Tessador and Wade, they're both like, well, that's a damn spear. Like they're like, whoa, okay. Mm-hmm. She's got this in her bag now. That'll work. Mm-hmm. She would eventually hot tag to Jade, and Kairi Sane would actually get the advantage of Jade because both members would hot tag, and you would think Jade would walk in and just throw around Kairi Sane. Not true. Kairi Sane was too fast, and we get her in a chokehold. Pretty good stuff here. Match goes on. Jade and Bianca would go for one of their tag team moves, and they would miss. And the tag team move was Jade like power bombing Bianca onto Io Sky. But Io Sky rolled out of the way, and when she power bombed her, obviously Bianca Belair is now hurt. Owie, my tummy hurt. That hurt. And this was followed up by a missile drop kick from Io Sky to Jade, and Io would then launch. She would do a pop-up power bomb to Kairi Sane. So she'd pop up Kairi Sane and do a pop-up power bomb onto Jade, throwing Kairi Sane on top of her.
No, it was a pop-up elbow. Pop-up insane elbow.
Oh, you're right, it was. Right? It was a pop-up insane elbow. Yeah. Good call. Anyway, it was sick as hell.
There was a lot of tag team moves tonight,
awesome.
To be honest.
It was awesome. Then the fun stuff would happen. Io would go to the top to do her moonsault, but Jade would pull Bianca out of the ring just in time. And when that happened, Kairi Sane ran out to get the advantage, and she would try to jump onto Jade, but Jade would catch her, sling her into the barricade. And when that happened, the Meta Girls start talking that smack. Mm-hmm. They're talking that smack. Mm-hmm. And that gave just enough time for Jade and Bianca to be distracted. Io Sky comes running over. She suicide dives into both of them, into Jade and Bianca. And she picks up Bianca, throws her in the ring because she's the legal woman. But Io Sky starts talking trash to the Meta Girls. She says something. I don't speak Chinese.
Yeah, nobody cares. Like, nobody likes the Meta Girls.
There was no captions. I don't know. It was awesome. But Lash Legend, for some reason the ref's not looking.
Mm-hmm. He's checking on Bianca.
He's checking on Bianca. She smacks Io Sky, giving Bianca, and then Io Sky kind of like holding her face, gets into the ring. Bianca Belair does pick her up, hit the KOD. 1, 2, 3. Jade and Bianca get the win here with some help from the Meta Girls. Mm-hmm. But this match was phenomenal, per usual. Gotta pop it.
Yeah, I'm going to pop this as well. A lot of stuff to kind of like unfold, or like a lot happening in the match, I felt like.
Yeah.
Like you had the Jade and Bianca, you had Bianca selling great as well. Damage control looked really strong. Jade still got her moments, but then you did have Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend on the outside.
Yep.
So I'm assuming maybe they're not done.
Nope.
Or somebody's going down to NXT to fight them, I assume. We'll see. I know I saw something with the Hurricane that some of the NXT people are in St. Louis now. So maybe that's them.
Just a thing.
Yeah, they're just like, they just moved them up to the St. Louis and whatever that little factory thing is there.
I mean, I'd be down for it. I'm going to assume Damage Control goes down there and fights them now that, we already got Jade and Bianca, fought them and beat them. But anything to get more screen time for these guys. This is how you should do it. We talked about it on our SmackDown review. I'm totally down with showing off the NXT talent in these little ways here and there. Do I like that Lash Legends hit was the cause of this finish between these two great tag teams? No, but it does mean that we're probably going to get more Damage Control versus Jade and Bianca down the line, which is never a bad thing. So
yeah, I'm going to assume that we are. Like if this is the end of that, I don't think it is, but if it was, I'd be like, God, that sucked. But I assume there is going to be more Damage Control anytime. You can put them on TV.
Yeah, no other women's tag team stuff tonight. Mm-mm. So, I mean, you don't even have anything lined up for them, really. So I guess you could kind of just say, well, these are the 3 tag teams that are going to be intertwining for the little future ahead of us. And that's that.
Yeah, and maybe that's the way with going 2 hours to Raw and SmackDown still being 2 hours. You get like one team from NXT, one team from Raw, and then I assume you'd say Jade and Bianca. I can't remember, but I assume they're on SmackDown permanently, whether they had the titles or not.
I think so.
I would assume so, because there would be no star power on SmackDown for the women, really. So yeah, I like that. You get kind of all 3 shows combined. I wish they had something like a Survivor Series or something where they had like the NXT champion versus the Raw champion versus SmackDown something like that again. Kind of like how we're getting it with Crown Jewel a little bit, but like something like that.
I was about to say that though. We could do that with Crown Jewel because Crown Jewel right now is kind of your pseudo Survivor Series right now with the way they're doing champion versus champion stuff. You could just sit there and throw these 3 tag teams into a match at Crown Jewel for the titles. Have Jade and Bianca walk away from it, and that'd be great stuff. It'd be a really big upgrade or like step up for the Meta Girls to be on that sort of level. Yeah. And it's been a while since we've really gotten big time NXT call ups like that. Mm-hmm. So I would love to see it.
Yeah, and we did our predictions for that card, and we both obviously had Damage Control versus Jade and Bianca.
Yep.
I mean, throw them in there. Maybe that is what we get here with tonight. Maybe you get back and forth on all 3 shows, and that leads up to that. I'd be more than happy to see that.
I'd be down. We move on, though. Speaking of tag teams, the tag team champions who never defend their tag team championships were on Backstage with Adam Pearce.
That's not true. They defended them a month ago.
Last
month.
They did.
That's what JD says.
That's exactly what they said. Pearce is like, or Finn gets mad at Pearce and is like, I want my rematch against Damian. And Pearce is like, no, you're not getting a rematch with Damian. You need to defend those freaking tag titles. And that's when Finn was like, we defended them a month ago. What do you mean?
Yeah, JD's sitting there just like, we defended these. Finn's like, yeah, I want Priest. We already defended these.
We already defended them once. And Pearce is like, okay, no, you're not getting a rematch against Damian right now. And by the way, we're setting up a tag team tournament to decide who you guys are going to face next. So just be ready for that. They nod their heads. And then Liv walks in with Raquel and introduces her to the team. And nothing really happens except for Carlito is smitten by her. So we're going to be getting some funny stuff with that in the future.
Yeah, and as for the tag tournament goes, I mean, you're cutting it down to 2 hours. What better way to showcase the tag division than to have a tournament?
Yeah, if you guys haven't, we released a video yesterday that was given our like wish list for 2-hour Raws. This Raw kind of did all of that. It highlighted the mid-card titles. We're getting tag team action in there. Like they're doing the stuff that we like to see.
You had the champs on there. You
had the champs fighting. So yeah, good stuff. Then we get a bunch of promos here. Boom, boom, boom. A lot of the quick little 90-second stuff. We get an American-made promo where they defined achievement out of Webster's dictionary.
Just gold.
They said achievement is defined as excellence in skill, size, and power. But they should just scratch that, and Webster should just redefine it as American-made.
Yeah, and you had Brutus Creed like laughing his little like obnoxious laugh, and he got a little thing in there. Oh man, it was fantastic.
They are sick and tired of everybody wanting handouts. They are here to become the heroes of the WWE. They're going to be the heroes, and we will put the world on our backs. You just sit there and watch. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was obviously more to it. Like they showed, like they talked about like skill. They showed Ivy Nile, and she said something, and then Brutus Strength said something, and Julia said something. I mean, this was just great. It's phenomenal.
American made so great, and they've given them enough time to separate to when they come back. They're going to feel kind of new again. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
We would get a Bron promo package though, because obviously he attacked Jey last week, and he said, "Why did I turn my back on Jey? Because he won the lottery when he beat me." He said, I came out the next week and I shook his hand out of respect, and he was expecting to be respected back, for that to be given back to him. And not once did he give me the respect. We're not the same. I'm doing this on my own. I'm not doing this with my family. He said, that's what he said. You've been sucking off your family's legacy for a long time. He said, just because you're cousins now, and the guy, you think that it's all your turn too. He goes, you think you can do this alone? I'm coming back from my IC title, and there's nothing your family can do to save you. And that was it. Braun Breaker's still coming for that title.
Still coming for that title. And as we'll probably get into in a little bit, maybe the family does have something with Jey with that title. Huh?
Maybe we will.
I do want to say just real quick before we go too far past this, I really like when Bron talks about like, oh, I didn't need my family, but
Yeah.
you need your family,
Yeah.
but I didn't need
Yeah.
mine. I like that.
I
really
love
do.
it.
It's
I love
so
it.
good.
It's true. In a way. We would get in Adam Pearce and Braun Reed, like, sit down interview. And Adam Pearce is like, dude, I'm all for people settling business on a wrestling show. He's like, I like that. But you're just going a little bit too far. You're hurting our refs. You're hurting people. Like, you got to chill a little bit, is basically his whole memo. And Bronson Reed's like, you know what? You're right. I apologize for that. But I'm trying to be the main eventer. He's like, I'm trying to go big time, basically.
Yeah.
He's like, and to go big time, I want Seth Rollins. How about you give me my match, and then I'll chill out on the rest of the roster. And Adam Pearce is like, do I have your word on that? If I give you this match, you're gonna chill out. And Bronson Reed's just like, yeah. And so we would cut right to Adam Pearce because that happened earlier in the day, and now it's
on Saturday.
And now it's now. And he finds Seth Rollins in the locker room. And Seth Rollins, he also wants the match. And Seth Rollins is like, I want the match. He wants the match. Let's just do this thing. And Pearce is worried about his health. He's like, you've only fought 7 times this entire year, and you kind of got hurt a lot.
Yeah.
And Seth's like, well, I'm a wrestler, and so that happens in wrestling. But he says he knows injuries are going to happen, but most importantly, he knows that young guys like Bronson Reed are coming for him. He goes, guess what, Pearce? I've slayed a beast. I've conquered kings, and now I want to hunt a monster. He says, I need this fight if you want me to be the Seth Rollins this show needs. So this Seth Rollins Bronson Reed feud is building. It's going to be good.
It's going to be good. And I mean, all 3 people here, like, they just use like legitimate logic.
Yeah.
Like Bronson Reed's like, well, I want to be a main guy. Seth Rollins is the main guy. So I took him out. And you're like, well, that makes sense. And then you have Adam Pearce like, well, Seth, I don't want you getting hurt. You're a top guy. That makes sense. And then Seth Rollins is like, well, that's going to happen. I want to fight this guy. And you're like, well, that all checks out. I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have like those like ridiculous logic from wrestlers.
Yeah.
And this was just straightforward. And you're just like, yeah, I could see all of this.
And none of them went like over the top in their character either. None of them were doing like, oh yeah, no one was going nuts. They were literally just like being humans, just being logical.
Yeah. Why the Macho Man got to take a stray bullet like
No,
that?
I love the Macho Man.
Nobody going over the top. Ooh, like, come on.
Yeah. Anyway, we get our first tag team tournament match. So Pearce wasn't lying. We're doing that. We're doing it now.
Yep.
And Otis and Tozawa come out. Alpha Academy with Maxine. And then we go to commercial break.
Yeah.
They won't tell us who they're fighting.
Yeah.
And you were like, you're sitting there like, oh, if the tournament's starting in the next few weeks, we're probably going to see the Viking Raiders. Mm-hmm. Here they come.
Yep.
Except they're not the Viking Raiders anymore. They're just the War Raiders.
War Raiders, which is their old name, old indie name, I guess.
Yeah,
I think
it's their old name.
But admittedly, before we get into this, we did a video a long time ago of who would dethrone like each current champ.
Yep.
And the Judgment Day tag champs, they had just won it.
Yeah.
And it was like the Wednesday after or the Monday after. And we said, man, Otis and Tozawa, that sounds perfect.
Yeah.
They come out and we're like, here we go. This is it.
We're going to do it.
This is going to happen. Then that music hit for the War Raiders, and I said, "Son of, it ain't happening."
Not happening today. It was pretty obvious that moment. Pretty obvious. But Ivar and Otis would start, and if you don't know who Ivar is or the War Raiders, look them up. Big men. If you know, obviously, if you're watching us, you probably know Otis is big man. They were big men doing what they do, slapping man meat, getting all up in there. Eventually, Otis would come in with a tag, and Eric would get tagged in. He would slam Ivar on top of Tozawa. We were doing a bunch of pop-up moves to each other and slamming each other.
A lot of tag team in sync moves tonight.
It was tag team wrestling galore. It was like SmackDown vs. Raw 09. It's good SmackDown vs. Raw.
I know who's on the cover, but I don't
DX,
know.
maybe. Yeah. War Raiders would hit Otis off the apron. So basically their entire thing here was keep Otis away, destroy Tozawa.
Yep.
And they could each eat him for breakfast. So it makes sense. Like they should do that. Good strategy here. A lot of logic tonight.
Yeah.
A lot of logic tonight. They did that until Otis eventually would save, and he would go to do his caterpillar, but his caterpillar would be stopped by a big old high boot from Ivar.
Yeah, like a spinning heel kick.
Yeah, spinning heel kick, big, right to the dome.
Yeah.
Bopped him. He kicked him, and the War Raiders would just go off on Tozawa. They would just destroy him. Eric would eventually pick up Tozawa like he's holding a baby. Like literally, it was like he was holding a baby. And Ivar would go to the top rope, and as Ivar would do a jumping Tom Turnbuckle splash, Eric would sling the baby up.
Yeah,
He would throw him up, Tozawa up, so that they would meet in the air, and Ivar would come down on Tozawa. 1, 2, 3. The War Raiders, they move on to the tag team tournament, defeating our people, our Otis and Tozawa.
Yeah, this is a cool finisher.
Phenomenal finisher.
I like it.
Yeah, it's great. As much as we wanted Otis and Tozawa to win, I thought this was good. They've been doing the whole like fire emblem thing, building these guys up for a few weeks. So if you're going to put in the effort to try to build them up, they have to come out and look dominant, which is exactly what they did here today. They looked great in the ring, bunch of tag team action moves. Good stuff, popping it.
Yeah. Everything, there's nothing wrong with what you just said.
Yeah.
I mean, they did exactly what you're supposed to do. They building up the tag team division, building up with this tournament, building up the new team that they've been, I guess, doing promos with for weeks, which is why I'm going to drop this.
Oh.
This, for me, it's more of a personal thing. Like I said, they did everything right. They did everything they're supposed to do. To me, I'm a big Otis Tozawa guy, so it sucks seeing that. But it's also, I've never been a big Viking Raiders, War Raiders, Viking, whatever you want to call them.
You got to give this repackage a chance.
It's this, but that's the problem for me. Is it's the same thing. It's just a different name.
It's same but new.
Yeah,
but
same
different.
thing but different.
They have a new paint,
and so yeah, and for me, like I guess it was kind of telling that as much as they put that effort into them,
yeah,
the crowd tonight when they were hitting moves and posing and flexing, nothing.
To be fair, that crowd was 3.5 hours into it at that point,
which is a fair
thought. It got taped back to back because I was with you when I was watching it live. I was like, damn, they are not getting pops here. Yeah. It felt like Raquel when she made her debut at Bad Blood. But then as time went on, I thought about it and I was like, oh well, they're in St. Louis, which is our time, so it was 11:30 p.m. there on a Monday night.
Yeah,
like that's a long night.
Yeah, or maybe 10:30. Yeah, whatever the case may be.
It's long.
It's a long night.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because of the hours. It was still almost 11 o'clock there.
Yeah.
That's a lot to ask for.
It's a long night, and don't get me wrong, I get that. I get that thought, but then it also makes me think that like we've seen these guys before. They were in the past. They got into those like. I think it was them, like the Street Profits basketball.
Yep.
All those weird things.
Yep, that's
and
Vince
Tozawa.
era, bro.
I understand that. Don't get me wrong.
That's the end of the Vince era.
I understand that.
Delete
Don't
it
get me
from your brain.
I can't do that. I'm sorry. I can't do it. And maybe I should, and maybe that's unfair for me to do. But it's going to take a lot for me to get behind them a little bit. So as of right now, tonight, I am out on them, but there's always time to change my mind on that.
Always time. And there was time for a little bit of SmackDown crossover here because Mr. Cody Rhodes was coming to the ring. Because obviously his crown jewel match is against Gunther. So we're continuing that. He has a long entrance here, full time. He's at the pyro. He goes over and he shakes Wade Barrett and Joe Tessitore's hands. He's making the most out of it. I was like, damn, what's happening here? He talks about St. Louis being so historic for wrestling, but not just for wrestling, for him in general, because I guess St. Louis was the first place that after they announced the Rock versus Reigns match last year for Mania, they were the first place that was shouting, "We want Cody," in the arena on the next night. That really started up the rise of what ended up being Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes and a phenomenal main event of Mania. So he loves it in St. Louis. And that led him to go, okay, after all this, what do you want to talk about? And boom, Gunther's music hits. Gunther. And he's with Bill Goldberg. No, I'm joking. He comes out and Gunther says, "It's the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes." He goes, "Usually this is the part where I dress down my opponent, but there's not much negative to be said about you." That's what he says to Cody. He goes, "This sport is in a boom because of you." And he calls him the QB of the whole operation. I was like, damn, Gunther watches football. Wonder who he cheers for. Gotta be Chiefs.
Patriots. Yeah, I don't know.
Something like that.
Wouldn't be Patriots. I guess that wouldn't make any sense. That's
Anyway, he said, "I respect you, but there is one thing about you I don't like. You have to be everybody's darling. You have to be friends with anybody, and a friend who is friends with everyone is not a friend to anyone at all." I was like, damn, Gunther, good line. And he said, "That's the reason why you got your best friend Kevin Owens hating on you right now." And Cody responds, and he goes, "So this weakness you speak of, I would call my biggest strength." And then he would go, from one champ to another, "I've watched you, and I know one thing. You get uncomfortable in the ring. You break." He said, I could return the respect, but you've never been in the ring with me one-on-one, so I'm going to have to wait. And Gunther said, spoken like a true secondary champion, Cody. And Cody goes, you really have been a frightening beast, Gunther. But let us not forget, I beat the most dominant champion in wrestling history. And he goes, I've already slayed a frightening beast. And Cody offers a handshake. Gunther does end up shaking his hand. But while he's shaking his hand, Gunther smiles at Cody and goes, good luck to me. And he walks away. This is good stuff, man. I like this.
Yeah.
I like this. I'm popping it.
Yeah, I'm going to pop this. As much as Cody says he beat the most dominant champion of all time, he wants to talk about being a wrestling historian. Man, he didn't mention Bruno Sammartino.
I'm not going to lie.
That's probably the most dominant champion.
No, I'm not going to lie. Roman's squashing that, man.
Wow, that's... Maybe that's a fantasy match. We haven't done fantasy match in a while. Maybe that's what we'll do. Anyway, as for current day stuff, yeah, this was good. I mean, this was exactly what you think, exactly what you thought was going to happen. It's good to see the two champs interacting. I thought Gunther did a really, really good job. He's continuing to show how good he is on the mic now, how comfortable he is with this new character. And yeah, there's not much else more to say. Kind of a quick, short thing, but I'm excited.
Yeah, this was all I really need from them. They're both such good promos, to me at least. I like the Gunther promo. I know people they don't like him very much, but I like how he just kind of dresses down his opponents with some little lines here, little lines there, does a job, walks away. Cody here kind of seemed on the defensive in terms of just like he immediately kind of dug at Gunther. I think Cody is kind of breaking psychologically. That's kind of the story that they're taking, that like the world around him is crumbling. And he's not really the politician that he normally is, the happy guy that kisses babies all the time. He's starting to show some signs of cracks here and there, and that's adding a character to Cody that I really like. Like, I like this Cody. This is the Cody that I like to see, and I'm looking forward to their match at Crown Jewel because of it.
That's a really good point. To add in on that, like, it just makes it, I guess, more apparent because Cody did look like he hasn't slept in weeks, right?
Yep.
Like he looked very disheveled. So that's a great point. I mean, yeah, I guess I didn't think about that, but yeah.
Makes sense. All of his friends are fighting.
Yeah, he's really only got, Randy left? So
yeah, we'll see. Anyway, we would get a short Dragon Lee promo, and this thing was weird. He turned into a dragon.
Yeah,
he turned into a dragon.
Basically said, your time is up, my time is now, and then he grew.
Yeah. He's great in the ring, and he's ready to fight, and he's got a match in the tag team.
John Cena with wings.
He's got a tag team tournament match with Rey Mysterio next week, and he's facing American Made, so we'll see it, but he literally turns into a dragon. I thought this was hilarious. But we'll move on. We have Kofi Kingston taking on Bronson Reed, because obviously we have Kofi Kingston taking on Braun Breaker. Let me do it again. I wrote down Bronson Reed. Not very good on my part. Anyway, Kofi obviously last week got speared after the Xavier Woods stuff with Braun Breaker and Jey Uso, so he wants a shot at him. So Kofi would start hot here. He would come out hot and mad. He'd give a good old drop kick, corner splashes, all the good stuff. But Braun would take control. He'd start doing like extremely heavy Irish whips into the corner, shoulder tackles, bunch of stuff. We'd get a big commercial in the middle of it where Braun worked him over the entire time. Good stuff. Braun would eventually try to go for a spear while Kofi was in the corner, but Kofi would move. Braun would spear the ring post. We haven't seen that spot in a while. I like that. Anyway, this would mean Kobe gets hot. He just springboard crossbodies off the top rope. He does the boom drop. He goes for the trouble in paradise, but when he misses, and that means bad stuff. He'd end up going for a double axe handle off the top rope where Braun Breaker would catch him, belly-to-belly suplex, do a rope run spear. 1, 2, 3. He beats Mr. Kofi Kingston, but that's not all. Braun Breaker, he's a mean dude right now, and he wants to be mean to somebody, and Kofi's in the ring. He's going to be mean to him. So he goes to try to mess with Kofi, and Xavier Woods would run out. And when Xavier Woods got in the ring, Braun Breaker kind of just backed off and got out of the ring. And he starts to walk around the ring, and you think he's going to go back to the set, and Xavier Woods goes and tries to help Kofi Kingston. Braun Breaker gets in the ring, and he starts to attack Xavier Woods.
Yep.
When he starts to attack Xavier Woods...
Yeah, and by start to attack, he does like one punch.
One punch.
Yeah.
Mr. Yeet has arrived. Jey Uso. He's running out. And he runs out. He super kicks Braun. Then he does a spear to Braun Breaker. And then he helps Xavier Woods out of the ring, or up in the ring. And Braun Breaker tries to sneak back up and get on the apron. And he'd super kick him again. So Jey Uso gets the best of Braun Breaker here. In terms of this match and everything, nothing to write home about. I think that the post-match stuff continued the story, but didn't add anything. So I am going to actually give this whole thing a down.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna pop this.
Or a drop, sorry.
Yeah, you're gonna drop this. I'm gonna pop it.
Okay.
There was nothing, like I said, to write home about,
Yeah.
but I appreciate the effort at least. It's nice to see Braun Breaker with the mean streak again. Nice to see Kofi in some singles action. As for the stuff at the end, obviously Jay is saving Braun or saving New Day from Braun, and you have that whole thing. But then you see a little bit of tension still with Woods and Jay and Kofi, because Woods is getting mad that Jay's coming to help, basically. So that wasn't anything really big either, but it was subtle.
Yeah, I my reason for dropping it is because I don't think there was enough of the Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston stuff. It's just, I know that like storytelling takes time. You can't just rush it and have every single week Xavier Woods just scream at Kofi Kingston. But I really felt like there was nothing with that tonight. Like, sure, he gave a couple facial expressions to Jay when he got in the ring, but I would have liked at least like a push or a shove to Jay. Something that says like Xavier Woods isn't done with the IC title. Just something that this is just by the books that I've seen from Braun Breaker 100 times right now. And I'm not saying it's bad by any means, but it's just one of those things where like you have these 4 guys in the ring and all of them can do like really good stuff. I'd rather them push the envelope a little bit than just do the norm here. So yeah. I'm going to have to drop it.
Yeah, and that's fair. For me, it was kind of like, I guess as we get into later in the night, there was a reason why there was not a whole lot of stuff towards Jay.
Yep. So we're going to go a little out of order here, but I want to get this out of the way. Miz versus R-Truth. Miz versus R-Truth. This match was something. So Miz comes out, and during the Miz's so Miz and R-Truth would square up in the ring, and they'd handshake. And when they handshake, Miz would go for the handshake and shake his hand, and then R-Truth would dance and be happy, and Miz would start looking at him all mean. And while that happened, screen glitch. Wyatt 6 saw stuff real quick, 2-second thing. So that's happening, right? Mm-hmm. Miz and R-Truth didn't even lock up. And Karrion Kross and the Final Testament and AOP, they all come out to watch, and they're standing on the set, a couple feet from the ring. And the Miz is like, he turns, why are you guys here? Why are you guys here? R-Truth roll up on the Miz. 1, 2, 3. R-Truth wins this thing. Of course, after the match, Karrion Kross 6 his boys on R-Truth, and they start beating him up. They roll him back into the ring where the Miz does end up hitting a skull-crushing finale onto R-Truth. Mm-hmm. So the Miz is officially back to being a heel. He's officially going to be targeted by Wyatt 6, it looks like, and Karrion Kross is probably going to be there right with him. Yep. So that's something. But this is awful. I mean, I gotta drop it. I mean, that's bad. I don't like that at all. I'm dropping that.
Yeah, I'm dropping it as well. Not in the sense like I like Miz being a heel.
Yep, me too.
I even it wouldn't be my favorite thing, but him with the AOP stuff, like, and Karrion Kross, like, okay, I'll give it a chance.
Yep.
The Wyatt 6 stuff, I looked at you and I said, oh no, they're gonna go after our boy Miz, which is gonna be good.
Yep.
But I mean, this was the R-Truth roll up after, the one move. That was it. It's really tough because Miz should be in more like credible, more deserving things. I feel like Miz is pretty underrated. Most people like the Miz, or maybe they don't, but they at least respect him. He needs to be doing something more important, which we will get to, I'm sure. But this was just a low point for that.
Right, I'm with you. Eventually, this stuff is going to get better, and we're going to get some good stuff in terms of the Miz being a full heel, which he excels at, and maybe he can bring up Karrion Kross to the level WWE's really wanting him to be at finally. And then, of course, you throw in the Wyatt 6 stuff. It's going to be great, but I don't like this type of stuff. I don't like these whole like gimmicky roll-up losses. It's just like the Miz has done so much in his career. I feel like we got to be past that, but again, I don't want to reiterate too much, but like I know that this is just the very first step to something that's going to be good. So
yeah, it was just very house show and took up time on Raw that you could use otherwise. We talk all the time about 2 hours.
Yep.
How can you make time for stuff? You could have not done this.
Yeah,
and done something else.
Completely agree, but we get some good stuff here. Rhea and Damian in the back. Rhea's getting, I don't know where that room is that she has. It's all dark and purpley, and I don't know what's going on there. But Damian shows up. And he's like, you need some help out there tonight? And she's like, no, I'm basically just gonna put Tiffy in the corner. But enough with me. What about you, Damian? She says, you've destroyed all the boys. You beat Finn Balor. You know what it's time to do. It's time for you to go get back what's yours. Time to go get that championship back. And Damian goes, you know what? you're right. He goes, I'm going to be here for you. As long as you're feuding with the Judgment Day, then I'm going to be right there behind you. So we got that together. But it's time for El Campeon to return. And then he walks away.
Mm-hmm.
So, Damian Priest, he going to go back for that title? He going to go for Gunther again? A little Damian Gunther round 2 incoming?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to get it down the line. Now I think Finn's just going to screw Damian out of it. And you're not really going to get a fair thing because then Balor wants that match, right?
Yeah.
So as much as I don't even know if I would be excited to see it at this point. I'm kind of just over Priest as a whole, but it is something different. Is like you kind of said, the break glass of emergency sort of thing. So it makes sense, but I think Balor's going to weasel his way into that some way, somehow, cost Damian, and that's how they get back to that.
What I'm hoping is that the tag team tournament overlaps with Damian going back after the title in some way, shape, or form, and we do maybe get a clean Gunther win over Damian to kind of cement that. I'm with you. I know that Finn's gonna show up, but I'm over Damian as a Terror Twin dude, but I'm not over Damian in the title picture. I loved Damian's title reign, and I think Damian versus Gunther would actually be a phenomenal feud if you do it right. But the problem is, we're going to get Finn involvement. We're still going to get that Judgment Day involvement. It's just like the gnat that won't go away from your freaking ears. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, and to reiterate your point about the tag team tournament, I don't know. I mean, they didn't say how long it's going to be.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that could maybe be a Crown Jewel thing or maybe a random Raw leading up to Crown Jewel sort of thing. You know, who knows? But we know of, 4 teams in it. I don't know how many Raw teams there are, but probably not that many to make it last a couple months.
Probably not that many. Yeah, you're right.
Unless they space them out with the 2 hours.
I'm ready for Damian to get away from Terror Twins. That's basically it.
Yeah.
But the interesting stuff now.
Yes.
We cut to Jey.
Yes.
He's walking around backstage.
Yes.
He walks into a room.
Yes.
Jimmy Uso's there. And Jey looks at him and he just goes, does he even say anything? I don't even think he says. Oh, no.
Yeah, he does.
Jimmy looks at him and goes, you got a second? And Jey just walks away. We do get some stuff in between here, but we cut back to it. And now Jimmy's looking for Jey. Jimmy's looking for Jey, opening every single door, and eventually opens the door, and Jey walks out with that title. And Jimmy goes, just hear me out, Jey. And Jey just goes, I said no, now get out of my face, man, and walks away. But we here, right? We're here. Their bloodline is coming after Jey in a good way. They're trying to recruit him. Bloodline meaning Jimmy and Roman. So, like, we've been waiting, and it's here. Jey's being recruited again.
Yeah, and Jimmy's that nice, perfect, I mean, like, bridge builder between Jey and Roman. Like, he has love for Roman. He obviously has love for Jey, and those two hate each other. But you got the middleman who they both love the middleman, but they're mad at the middleman because the middleman's over here, over there. It's so good. Just fantastic stuff. This was my favorite stuff of the night.
Yeah, it was so simple.
And it was, I don't know, 45 seconds.
Yeah.
It was not a lot. Definitely makes you think like, okay, Jimmy's going to keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back. So then eventually, whenever we do get the Braun Breaker Jey Uso, I think Jimmy's going to be the reason Jey keeps that title. And then he kind of has to.
That's next week.
Mm-hmm.
So next week on Raw, we have Jey Uso versus Braun Breaker. Jimmy's officially looking out for Jey. He's trying to recruit him. What better way to get back into good graces and helping him keep that title? Maybe Braun Breaker starts attacking him after the match, whichever way the match goes. Then Jimmy comes and saves. It's just we're officially here with it, and that's so great. And I mean, I just couldn't be more happy. There's not much else to say. It's like the story that we've all been waiting for is starting to come to fruition. And it's just like sit back, relax, and watch it unfold, man.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we talked about the Bloodline 2.0 stuff, kind of going through some lulls, like this original Bloodline group of the 4 years or whatever it was, like that was always absolute cinema. And we're back on train. We're back on track for the cinema, and I could not be more excited.
Whenever they get back together, dude, that's gonna hit. Anyway, we get our main event here. It's Rhea and Tiffany taking on Liv and Raquel. And the second Tiffany gets the ring with Rhea, she just goes, get in the corner. Mm-hmm. She's like, I'm gonna take these guys on by myself. So Liv and Rhea actually start the match. Good stuff. I'm like, Liv ain't scared. She's go after, go. I thought for sure she would just be like, Raquel, this is your job.
Yeah, turn and tag.
You start. But she should have just let Raquel start because Rhea destroyed her. Liv would go for some punches, and Rhea would just catch both of her arms and headbutt her and then start drop kicking her. But eventually Liv would tag in Raquel, which we'd finally get the square off between Raquel and Rhea. But Tiffany reaches over, tags herself in.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to stay in that corner.
Mm-hmm. It's Tiffy time.
It's Tiffy time is what she says. Tiffany ends up throwing Raquel out of the ring. And when she throws Raquel out of the ring, Rhea jumps off the apron and wants to get involved, but Tiffany stops her. And Tiffany's like, no, you're not the legal woman. I get to handle this. And Rhea and Tiffany, they start fighting. Meanwhile, Raquel snuck into the ring and picked up Liv in a powerbomb position, runs over and powerbombs Liv over the top ropes into Tiffany and Rhea. I was like, that was such a great spot.
I had forgotten. Obviously, they were tag champs at one point, but I forgot some of their moves together.
Yeah.
And seeing that tonight, I was like, this is good stuff.
Yeah. So we come back from commercial break. Liv's working Tiffy. She hits the three amigos, for Dirty Dom and Eddie, obviously. But Liv, like you just said, they used to be tag team champions together, and Liv and Raquel do that type of stuff. They were doing tag moves all over Tiffany. Tiffany was in this match to bump, and she did a great job. She was selling for Liv and Raquel and everybody involved. We would eventually get a hot tag to where Rhea and Liv are back in the ring, but Rhea would destroy Liv, drop kicks Raquel off the apron. She does the Eradicator to Liv and hits the Riptide on her. 1-2, but Raquel sneaks in, gets her off. If that would have been the end of it, I was looking at you like, damn, that would have been awful. Anyway, Rhea would then throw Raquel out of the ring because she's pissed at Raquel at this point. So she throws Raquel out of the ring and she tags Tiffy in just so that Tiffy can go finish off Liv and she can go handle business with Raquel out of the ring. So when that happens, Rhea's outside beating up on Raquel and Tiffy goes for the prettiest moonsault of all time. She misses though. And we don't know what happens with that. All we know is that she misses. Her and Liv are kind of just laying in there. Mm-hmm. And we cut back to Rhea and Raquel on the outside of the ring. Nia Jax out of nowhere. She beats up on both of them. Ding, ding. I don't know who wins. I don't know who she hit first. I think Rhea.
She hit Rhea first.
Yeah, definitely Rhea.
She pushes Raquel into the turnbuckle, into the post.
Yep, she pushes her into the post. But we have they all get in the ring, right? They all get in the ring. And Rhea goes to pick up Nia, like she's like Hulk Hogan onto the Giant style, basically.
Yeah,
and when when she does that, Liv takes out her leg, boom, right in the back of the leg to Rhea Ripley, and all hell breaks loose. Like Liv starts beating the hell out of Rhea. All stuff is good here. Liv's looking like a dominating champ. She's beating up on everybody, but Nia goes, nah. She picks up Liv. Samoan drops her, hit her with a leg drop, and drags Liv over, annihilates her, drags her to the middle of the ring, and she gives Tiffy this look like, hello, you got a dead champion laying here. You should probably go get that freaking briefcase. And Tiff freaks out. She's like, oh my God, it's Tiffy time. And she runs outside. She gets the briefcase, presents it to the ref. But chivalry is not dead, ladies and gentlemen. Dirty Dom, he comes and he pulls Liv Morgan out of the ring and he carries her to safety like the man should. And at the very end, the last line of the night is, it's not Dommy time, it's Tiffy time. And it fades to black. This is all great. I really can't hate on any of this. I thought this was hilarious. I'm popping the hell out of it.
Yeah, the only thing, I'm going to pop this as well. The only thing you could maybe talk about being not good was how Rhea destroyed Liv multiple times. That's maybe the only thing because she did hit her finish on her and she does have the 3 count if it's not for Raquel.
Yeah.
So you can maybe nitpick that, but it makes sense in the story. That's the bodyguard. That's the protection. It all flows together. Match was fine. Nothing to really write home about, but a good match. Entertaining. The Tiffy stuff afterwards with Nia, like we get the tease of the possible cash in on Liv. So now that just makes me think we're getting that one in on Nia sooner or later.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait for that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the only part about the match that was like, it was one of those, the classic Rhea where if she's not like getting cheap shotted, she's in control. Like the only time that Rhea Ripley ever is not in control of a match is if there's some outside factor or illegal maneuver that takes her out for the time being and you can get some offense in on her. Other than that, she just destroys you. It doesn't matter who it is because she had Liv pinned. And when Nia interfered, she got the best of Nia. So Rhea just dominated both your champions again. But, deja vu just keeps happening there. But other than that, story-wise, you're right. Raquel making the save makes sense. Raquel looked a little in the ring. Going to give her some more time there. But the most fun stuff here is that we are just, the seeds going into Crown Jewel for the Tiffy cash-in are just on another level. Like no idea what's going to happen. I mean, we assume it's going to be on Nia, or it could be a failed. Probably not going to be on Liv. Is Rhea going to get involved? I mean, there's 100 things here.
That's what I was going to ask, was like, okay, we think it's going to be on Nia, but like, what if we get some, because maybe we got Rhea Raquel at Crown Jewel, maybe, because I don't see them leaving Rhea off that card. So, like, maybe you get the Rhea interference, maybe Rhea destroys Liv, and then you get a cash in, and maybe she doesn't announce. Maybe the match is still going on. Maybe she gets that, and then she just tries one or two. Maybe she tries a pin here, kick out. Maybe she tries a pin here, kick out. And then maybe that's how she gets to the fail.
That'd be good. Or what if, Rhea and Tiffany fight for the Money in the Bank briefcase? Somehow Rhea destroys Tiffany, takes the Money in the Bank briefcase, stacks up Nia and Liv, pins them both, becomes double champ. That's your end of Crown Jewel.
No.
Spoiler.
See, that's too much, because Rhea needs to have the Money in the Bank briefcase and both titles. And the Crown Jewel title.
Takes the Money in the Bank briefcase back from the ref, says that's mine, riptides him, interferes in the Cody Rhodes and Gunther match, cashes in the Money in the Bank there. We like Rhea, but this is fun. I mean, come on. She's being booked like a freaking superhuman. It's a little much. But overall, good episode of Raw here. Nothing like amazing, right? That's what
just the bloodline stuff.
Yeah, just the bloodline stuff, but a lot of good stuff here leading into SmackDown, and these 2-hour shows are really, really doing well. I love recording earlier.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was a pop from us. Follow us on all of our socials at COD WrestlePod, COD WrestlePod. Watch our podcast, listen to our podcast wherever you do. YouTube, Spotify, Apple, etc. And if you want to come talk to us, we do have a Discord. It's in our bio. It's in our link tree. It has all of our socials. Go ahead and give us all a follow. We greatly appreciate it. I'm Will. That's Brandon. We are the Cousins, a Destruction Wrestling podcast. We will see you next time.